Hi everyone, I'm Erin Thompson of Everyday Expressions, and I am so excited that you're here with me today. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics in crafting, how to re-season your stash. I love to take images, stamps and dies and things and rethink them and use them in maybe different ways that you had not thought of before. So today we're reseasoning this adorable new scene building hot air balloon from Picket Fence Studios. We're also going to be using the Cloud Peekaboo cover plate die and the On a Cloudy Day stencil. So you'll see those in a little bit. But I got this hot air balloon and I'm not ready to stop Christmas crafting yet. So I thought, how can I adapt this and use it for some Christmas cards? And so what I did for inspiration is I still think that Pinterest is a great resource. Sometimes I forget to use it, but lately I've been using it quite a bit. So all I did was a search for hot air balloons, and lo and behold, guess what popped up? And a graphic from a designer on Etsy with some images that were hot air balloons that looked like Christmas. They were all decorated with greenery and ribbons, and it was the perfect inspiration for this card. So that's where I got my idea. Although I love to reseason and repurpose my stash all the time, so I think it's perfect for these hot air balloons. A couple of other ideas I had were to use this for a baby shower. And I'll tell you what my husband said at the end of the video. Hopefully I won't forget his idea because it's pretty genius. So anyway, let's get started. I began by die cutting the pieces of the hot air balloon, first out of white hammermill cardstock and then out of gold glitter cardstock. And so I die cut all my pieces, and you see I kept them organized in my little sorting trays. I love these. I have become addicted to using them. I find I'm reaching for them for almost every project. So that kept everything nice and organized. And I tried, although in the end I failed, keeping my gold pieces to one side and my white cardstock to the other. So I began by pulling out my very well used and loved paper inking palette. And I don't know if you saw at the beginning, but I actually have a new one to use. But for inking, this one is perfect because it's already stained with inks, and I actually even have Copic on there. And don't do what I did. I glued pieces on it. I use it so much that I didn't even think when I went to glue something, and I got glue on it and I could not get it off. So trust me, don't glue on your paper inking palette. But I love it so much that I got a new one. So it's nice and pristine, and I didn't pull it out for this one. But I'm excited I have a nice clean one. So anyway, the paper inking palette is perfect for holding down your little images and your ink pad while you ink blend. And that's all I'm doing here. I actually picked colors from Catherine Pooler's Spa collection of inks. And the Spa collection is more earthy colors. Maybe they have a touch of hint of gray or earthy browns in them, and it just subdues them, and they aren't quite as bright and saturated as the party colors, and they were really pretty on these images. So I pulled out some of the reds and pinks, and then some of the green blues. I had originally pulled out the greens in the Spa collection, but those colors are just a little bit, I don't know, they're pretty, but they weren't what I was going for. So I redid these images in the green blues, and I love the final effect. They have just a little bit of turquoisiness to them. And you'll see at the end I have a bonus card. It was the first card that I created using the greens from the Spa collection, and I created a shaker card with that one. So you actually got a bonus project, but I was not happy with those greens. So you see why I redid it. But I really wanted to do the navy and pink. So I did pink and greens and navy and pinks. And I have to tell you, I just love the outcome. So on all of these white pieces you see, I'm just ink blending and using my blending brushes to kind of create the rounded effect. On the sides are darker and in the middle it's lighter, like the light would be reflecting off of that center part of that spherical part of the balloon. And then you see I'm kind of placing them as I ink them to know how it's going to look going up the balloon over top of the white base piece. And the nice thing is if you die cut one set of gold with the die balloons, you can alternate and get 2 cards out of one, because you'll use one piece of gold in one spot and then you'll flip it and ink that piece on the next one and then use the next piece of gold. So you see I'm kind of working side by side on these. I inked up all the pink parts at the same time. Now I'm doing blue and then I'll do the greens. So you'll see here in a moment that when I'm all finished, I actually decided on one to try Copic coloring a basket weave. And I gotta be honest, I think I need a little bit more practice on my basket weave Copic coloring skills. I'll have to look up a tutorial on that. It's okay, but not great. There are certainly artists out there who do a fantastic job, and it's just one of those things that I'll need to practice in the end. So here we go with these green blues. Isn't that Bay Breeze so pretty? I love this color. It really, I think, is the perfect holiday green. And it's not too green, and it's not a muddy green. It's got that hint of blue, and I just think it's so pretty. I think it might be my new favorite Christmas green. I'll have to remember to pull these out more often. So I'm just inking these up and placing my gold pieces and, trying to get some shaded effects on those. And I will say, when we get to it, you'll see it in a moment. Here I go, I'm coloring this basket. So it's a good idea, but like I said, go look for someone else's tutorial on maybe Copic coloring a basket weave. I'll have to look that up. Amy Young from 1,000 Sheets of Paper is a fantastic Copic artist, and so I'll have to go look up and see if she does a basket weave. I'm sure she does. So here I'm just using some shades of brown and trying to get that look. And it's okay. It's okay at the end. Copic coloring is definitely something that I need to work on more. I always tell you, I'm very honest, I am not an expert Copic colorer, but I normally can do a decent job. And I have to tell you at the end, I do love the bows that you're going to see me color. They came out really pretty. So I'm happy with those. And so now we're just going to glue it, glue everything down. And you'll see my trick for this is I just cover kind of like half the balloon, or what I think would be enough for about 2 or 3 pieces at a time, and glue that on there. I'm not going to take the time to put glue on each individual piece. I think it works just fine to put a bunch down and then lay each piece. So that's what I do. I definitely think for these smaller pieces, using like a jewel picker or some of your favorite tweezers definitely help speed that along. Just kind of move those. I start at the bottom of the balloon and go up from there, and everything hopefully should fit perfectly at the end. And this one's pretty simple. It's just step by step, and I'm showing you on this one, and I'm sure on the next one I don't go through the whole process of gluing everything down. But you'll see in a moment, we're going to get to the part where I need to adhere the pretty little gold ropes lines on this balloon. And I have to tell you, it's a little bit fussy. And so after doing this 2 or 3 times, I finally figured out a little bit of a way to make it a little simpler on the final one. So I'm not even going to show you my first 2 attempts because it was a little fiddly. So here's my trick. When you get to that part, it's a very fine very thin line on that die. So what I did was, I love, if you watch me, you know, I love my repositionable tape. I use it a lot. And the only reason I used it on this, not because I wanted to reposition it, but because it's so easy to get exactly on something small that you want it on. It works great on fine sentiments and things like that. Something else you could use would be if you have a Xyron sticker machine, that would work, or even sticky, I think they're called sticky specs. I have a hard time with those, so I don't normally reach for those, although I have them. And those would work really well too. And then I just added a little bit of glue in a couple of spots. And so you'll see in a second that'll work. But one little thing I wanted to show you, I'm going to back it up just a second. I popped out the little gold die cuts in that swag, that like swaggy banner. And I added those to the balloon for a little bit of interest. And they're so cute. So here you go. This is finally it. You see, I put the tape on that. I added just a little bit of glue at the top, and it was so much easier. And you can just place that on there and then use your tweezers to kind of pinch everything together and press it down, and voila, it worked so much easier. So there is, on my third attempt. You're welcome. I figured it out for you, and your life will be much easier. So now I pulled out some of the greenery from the Kelly Taylor Peaceful Christmas Flowers stamp set. And you'll see in a moment, I also pulled out a Cup of Christmas Cheer stamp set and used elements from both of those. So I stamped some of these images in green, and then I used the quartz pink ink from Catherine Pooler to do some no line coloring, and you'll see I did that on these berries and the holly. And one more trick I have for you is, it can be really hard to Copic color small images, especially if you have a heavy hand like I do. So I color the primary colors in Copic, and then I add fine details with sharpened colored pencils. So much easier to get that shading in there. Here's another one of my favorite tricks. I pulled out the primary image in A Cup of Christmas Cheer, and all I wanted to use on there was that pretty bow on the side of the mug. And I thought it would be perfect for these images. I tried to use the bow from Peaceful Christmas, and it was, no, I'm sorry, that's not the Peaceful Christmas set. It is the Christmas Wishes Tags and Ornaments. So I'm sorry, I apologize. I used the greenery from the Christmas Wishes Tags and Ornaments, also another Kelly Taylor set. And look how pretty this bow is as I Copic color it. It makes up for my lack of coloring on the basket because I am in love with these bows. So all I did was stamp that little bow in pink again, and then pulled out some mauve. I think these were the they're either RV80s or R80s. They're R80s. And you see, I use 3 markers to color these, and then I fussy cut them out. And I am obsessed with them. So once again, look at the elements on even a big stamp and think about how you can repurpose it and use it on other things. It doesn't just have to be for that specific image, because I just stamped it, colored it, and then fussy cut it, and you'll see how I kind of mix and match them to make a full bow and use just that half bow. So now I'm moving on to stencil some backgrounds, and I use the Cloudy Day stencil for these 2 backgrounds. And on this one, I'm using the Gold Twinkle Lights Paper Glaze Luxe. This has a grittiness to it. It has a little bit more glitter, and I just thought some pretty kind of bedazzled clouds to go with our gold in the balloons would be really pretty. So there's that one. And then just make sure that you clean up your stencil, wash it right away, and also your craft mat. And in a moment, you'll see I create another background using the Sparkle Paper Glitz, and I use that one for this pretty green and pink balloon. Now I die cut all of those little images, and I'm just going to adhere those to each balloon. And this first one, I added my elements to the top. And here you go. Here's what happened. You know, that bow is kind of on the right side of the mug, so you don't have a left side to it. So what I did was I colored two, I cut off the tails, and then I just glued it on. And look at that. I have a full bow now, and it looks perfect for the top of my balloon. I just pop it up with a little foam dot for a little bit more dimension. And I adhere that in the middle, and then I kind of work around and glue some of the holly, and I just colored those little berry sprigs in pink and added a hint of a shadow with like a burgundy colored pencil, and it looks perfect. So easy, so easy to add those details with colored pencils. And there you go. How cute is that Christmas balloon? I love it. I love I love those pink bows. I think they look perfect on these images. And I am happy that I repurposed those little gold kind of punch outs from the die and put that on my balloon. I think they added just a little pretty detail to that. Love it. Once again, with these little images, use your tweezers. They help make things so much easier. Reverse tweezers, if I had pulled those out, would have even been easier because they hold on to things to move from hand to hand. If you know, I'm right-handed, so I need to move from left to right. And then you'll see on the blue balloon, I only needed the half of ribbon, and I adhere that to the side, and I think it's really pretty. It would have been pretty to, once again, trim apart another bow and add one to the left side, so it looked like swag coming all the way across. That would have been so pretty. And there you go. I'm just holding it down and making sure that that glue adheres. And now I'm going to stamp my sentiments with my polished gold Wow embossing powder. And these sentiments are also from the Christmas Wishes tags and ornaments. I thought about using some other ones that were a little bit longer, but these were the perfect size to adhere to the front of a card along with this balloon. So I just stamped it, and I'm going to stamp the other one. I thought the From Our House to Yours was a perfect sentiment with this balloon, you know, thinking it's over the miles or something like that. So, and look, I have a brand new Versamark ink pad. I'm so excited. It's the only time you'll see a clean embossing ink pad in my craft room. So I'll try to keep this one cleaner a little bit longer than usual. But boy, it's stamped nicely. So let's heat these. I always start from the back and kind of melt the bottom layer first. And I love the polish with this embossing powder. Always so pretty. If you don't have the polished metallics from Wow in your stash, I promise you, you need them. They are perfect. So now I am going to, here you'll see I use my Paper Glitz Sparkle. I love this sparkle Paper Glitz. And I just wanted to add a little bit of interest to the background, but not be too distracting from the focal point. So I use that. And then I actually, once I cut the clouds, I mixed some of this with a little bit of water and I painted it on the front. You could also use some of your paper splatter in a fine mister and spray over your die cuts. It's so pretty. I forgot to do it for this, but it would have worked perfectly for the front cover. So just put a nice even layer on here. I didn't need to make sure I got the whole thing because it'll be hidden behind the front die cut. And then once again, just make sure that you close the lid tightly and you wash all of your supplies right away. And then I set it aside to dry. And the nice thing about this Paper Glitz is, or the Paper Glitz is that it dries very quickly. So it was just literally a matter of maybe 10 minutes. I sat it aside and did something else, and it was dry when I came back. Here I'm just ink blending a little bit of the Cove Blue around the outside of my die cut for my blue balloon. And then you'll see I'm going to tape down the backgrounds on a white card base. And then I add foam tape, one layer, to each of these cloud die cuts. I do it for both cards. And you'll see on my bonus card, I created a shaker card. It's the perfect die cut for a shaker. But on these, I wanted that pretty background to show through. And if I had made a shaker, lots of times, you add shaker bits and it can detract from your focal point. So I didn't want it to be too busy. So I add the front covers with foam tape, and the more narrow foam tape was perfect for these. And then what I did was on the balloons on one side, I doubled up the foam tape so that it popped above the die cut, and then left the left side with either just one layer or, with one layer on that left side, and it worked perfectly. Now on this one, now you see I stopped myself and I went back and I added glue, and that will give you some wiggle room so that if you don't get it perfectly straight, you have a little bit of a time to maneuver it around and get it perfect. It's definitely worth that extra step. So there's that, and then you'll see I pop up my balloons, and then same thing with the sentiments. I doubled up the foam tape in the middle and where it kind of sits in the die cut frame, and it works perfectly. So the final touch is to add some pretty gems from the North Pole collection. It has really pretty golds and blues, reds and greens. It's perfect for all of your holiday cards. And you'll see here in a moment my bonus card. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and you'll be notified of all my future videos. Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see how you reseason your stash.